An increase in imperialism, nationalism, and militarism worldwide, along with the building of alliance systems, resulted in global tensions and conflict. World War I was fought between two alliances. The Central Powers included the Ottoman Empire, which was under Turkish control, Germany, and Austria-Hungary. The allies, known as Triple Entente, were made up of France, Russia, and Great Britain. Italy and the United States were later incorporated into this alliance. In mid-1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria and his wife were assassinated. What should have only concerned Austria-Hungary and Serbia led to the involvement of Germany, France, Russia, and Great Britain because of those alliances. The United States was predominantly isolationist. Millions of immigrants were concerned because they had family who were fighting in the war. Propaganda began to change America's opinion of Germany. The war was good for American economy because of increased trade with the Allies. One of Britain's naval actions affected trade with Germany. The British blockaded Germany, and fertilizer and food from the United States could not get by. Germany's reaction influenced America's decision to enter into World War I. The German Navy called for unlimited U-boat warfare, or submarine warfare. In May of 1915, a U-boat near the Irish coast sunk the British Lusitania. Over 1,000 died and 128 were American.
G7.
You sunk my cruise ship.
Mwah!
That's it, we're going to war! Within a year, more ships were sunk and many Americans on board died. The United States threatened to end its diplomatic relationship with Germany if this continued. In 1917, on January 1st, Germany reverted back to unrestricted submarine warfare. The Zimmermann Note was a German telegram to Mexico asking for an alliance. It was intercepted. On April 6, 1917, the United States entered the First World War.
There were many things that made World War I different, besides the fact that it was between many countries. Submarines, more specifically the German U-boats, were a new terror out on the seas. In the first months of 1915, they sank around 90 ships in war zones. Airplanes made of canvas, wood, and wire were originally only used to observe the enemy. The Germans soon armed them with machine guns, which had been greatly improved during this time, and the other nations followed suit. The light, highly maneuverable planes attacked each other in the air. Pilots at the time had no parachutes, and airmen at the front rarely lived long. The British invented tanks with machine guns and occasionally a light cannon. Tanks, despite their slowness, mechanical problems, and other issues, were effective on firm, dry ground. They easily crushed barbed wire and could cross trenches. To keep up with the U-boats, they developed underwater listening devices and explosives. However, the most notable difference about World War I was chemical warfare. Originally, the gas was contained in large cylinders and carried to enemy territory. Soon, phosgene and other gases were placed in artillery shells and shot into trenches. Germans used this form of fighting the most since they realized wearing a gas mask hindered the enemy's fighting capability. But by 1918, all sides used gas frequently.
Although women could not serve in combat positions, they could volunteer in the Army Corps of Nurses. The Navy and Marines did give full military rank to women who served as nurses and the like. Segregation still existed in the military, and African Americans were largely restricted to non-combat positions. They were not allowed to serve in the Marines or Navy.
And last but not least, there was trench warfare. Soldiers in the trenches faced disease, mutilation, hunger, lice, rats, maggots, insects, and constant threat of the enemy. They had to dodge shell fire and bullets. Soldiers had to stay in place for long intervals so they wouldn't get shot at. Trenches easily filled with water, turning walls into mud. They tried to keep order, and there were many chores to keep them busy.
There was a rise in anti-German sentiment. As a result, many German citizens faced discrimination and prejudice. German language classes were no longer provided in many institutions, and schools started to focus on nationalism. The Committee on Public Information was created by Wilson to get more men to go to war. The committee was led by journalist George Creel, who helped promote the war effort. Women played a big role filling in for men drafted into the war. Women were able to work in jobs that were not available for them in the past. They took places of men in factories and mines. Their contributions to the war effort would help women gain their right to vote through the 19th Amendment. Naval blockade led to the low supply of imported food. The Women's Land Army was established to create more farms to fix the food supply issue. Immigrants were prevented from returning home due to the war. The Great Migration is the movement of Southern African Americans to the North and West. They migrated north to escape the South because of lynching, inequality, and the obstruction of their right to vote. The
government
cooperated
with
businesses
through
the
war
industries
board
which
is
an
agency
used
by
the
government
to
regulate,
and
organize,
the
purchase,
of
military.
supplies.
The National War Labor Board stopped anything like strikes that would interfere with production of war supplies.
World War I ended in November of 1918 with the signing of the Treaty of Versailles. The four empires under the leadership of the German government, Germany, Austria, Turkey, and Russia, all fell. The presence of democracy increased in the rest of the world, especially Europe. The League of Nations was created. Because of their victory over Germany, Americans received a sense of nationalism. While America's economy got better, Germany's became practically non-existent. The war paved the way for the Russian Revolution, and the economic distress that Germany found itself in was a perfect environment for Adolf Hitler's rise to power.